Well, I began service in Nkwen Baptist Church. If you talk as senior pastor, I began service on the 1st September 2007. But before then, I've been in Nkwen Church. I actually came to Nkwen Church in 1999 as a member. I used to serve as a pastor on Cameroon Baptist Church, and then I came to the office in General Secretary of the Convention in September 1998, and then I joined the membership of Nkwen Baptist Church around November that year. And in 1999 up to early 2000, the church did not have a senior pastor and associate pastor. So the church, when I joined the church, Reverend Dr. Oren Manet was acting as senior pastor, and when I came and joined the church as a member, they co-opted me as an acting associate pastor, and we worked, Dr. Manet and I worked together to get organized the church, because the church was going through some challenges at that time. So we worked together to stabilize the church, and then they now called for a senior pastor, Reverend Fanfon Christopher.
At the position I occupy in Nkwen Baptist Church, I have served as a part-time pastor, served as a full-time pastor, but now I am retired and on the bench of coaching the workers in Nkwen Baptist Church. The Baptist churches all over the world, particularly in the Cameroon Baptist Convention, is they are a church that goes by the decision of the members. And so the pastors, the leadership, pastors, beginning with the pastors were being called. Pastors were being called, and they came and served. And then for the leadership in the church, you know, the church is organized in wings. The men were there, the women were there, and the youths were there.
Yeah, you talk about the leadership, the deacons of Nkwen Baptist. Nkwen Baptist Church is a Baptist church, and the Baptists practice the congregational system, and deacons are elected. Even the pastor is elected by the congregation. Nobody appoints.
The experience in Nkwen Baptist Church is that I didn't know that Nkwen Church was going to be like this, because in our church we are not up to 200 people. I don't mean women. So we started women's meeting, and we formed a manual choir. We are all four of us that formed a manual choir. So we are just trying, and we just thank God that the pastors that came, even though they are not educated up to the ones now, they did very good work for us, because they will go from house to house visiting us and telling us the program of the church, because some of us were very weak. Sometimes a Christian meeting will not go. Limbe we are calling Christian meeting, general church meeting, but in Bamia they call it Christian meeting.
I know that Nkwen Baptist Church started officially in 1946. Before 1946, people like Robert Jam, Joseph Mamadou, Ntev, and Daniel Hangu had come from the coast when they got converted, when they went in search for a job. When they got converted, the Victoria Church trained them and decided to send them back to their people. And so they had come here and passed to their own people. Joseph Mamadou passed to the people of Boom. Then Tev passed to the people of Kom, specifically in Wombong, and Daniel Hangu went to his people in Bangola, and there they established churches.
Nkwen Baptist Church, yes, but officially we say it started in 1946, but the other people are even telling me that it started much earlier, but recently I've had some even challenging that and saying Nkwen Church started around 1940. And of course, at the time, the first missionary, the church was started by Dr. Donga, who was a German and a North American Baptist missionary from a German background, and he was in Bem. And since the German administration was up in Bamenda, he had to come up Bamenda, and he opened this station, the Nkwen Baptist Center Station.
Dr. George Donga was like serving like somebody in charge of the mission work in the convention, though not permanently stationed here. He was sharing with one of the reverend priests of the Roman Catholic Church, the Reverend Jacobs, and in their sharing, Reverend Jacobs told Reverend Dr. George Donga that he should try to secure the hill on which the Baptist Center now stands, and that hill was rejected by government for the construction of the general hospital, and that they rejected the field because the hill because it was dry and there were no signs of bringing water to the place. Now, Dr. George Donga had been praying for an opportunity, such an opportunity to come, so that he could like begin a church here. And so when he got this information from his missionary colleague, he did not waste any time. And at that time, somebody was living where you have the Nkwen Baptist Hospital now. He was called Anthony Bamum. The man came from Bamum, and he had a house where you have the health center. So Dr. George Donga immediately contacted this man and asked to buy his house. And the man was willing to sell the house. He charged 100 pounds, which is an equivalent today. I mean that when they changed the sterling to francs, it was an equivalent of 115,000 francs. And Dr. George Donga saw it as answered prayer, and immediately started the church. Immediately the land was secured. There was need for a pastor, and through Dr. Paul Giboa, they got Pastor Che Lucas to come as the pastor for the new church. And the church was not yet built. The members of the church were attending services at his veranda. And so this man came, and after devotions every morning, he went round witnessing and asking people to join the church, and many of the people started coming to church. And Dr. Paul Giboa, when he saw that the people were coming, he immediately constructed the first church worship house where we have the present church building now. and he roofed it with grass. It was a thatch house.
And then the worship here was growing, and it outgrew that space. That's when they built this other building down there, the present Children's Church. I think that history says it will be around 1960.
Okay, talking about the church buildings, I have some pictures here of the church buildings. The first one, like I said, was constructed with a thatch roof, and you can see this is it here with a thatch roof. And that one was around the 1950s, and it was constructed by Dr. Paul Giboa, Reverend Paul Giboa. And very soon the church needed development. It needed to be expanded because people were becoming more, and so they had to, in that very same, in the 50s, they had to construct the second one, and that second one was still constructed by Dr. Paul Giboa. And if you look at this second building, right around us here, you can see some of these wooden pillars. Dr. Paul Giboa was interested in local crafts, and so he got somebody, a friend of him, from Babanki, and this man from Babanki, he was called Robert Tida. Robert Tida came here and they worked with seasoned eucalyptus trees. So you see these pillars are eucalyptus trees, seasoned. Then that man Tida was a carver, and you see the pictures that are on the pillars. He did that. And you go into the church, you look at the ceiling. It has a local mat woven, and that's like the ceiling board. And the benches at that time were all made of bamboo. If you go now, there's an example still there in the children. We use this one now for children's church, and there is still a bamboo table in front of the children's church. And so this is how it went on. Now after some time, when many people came to Christ and the church started developing, it became necessary, because the membership was growing larger, it became necessary for the third building to be constructed. And before that third building was constructed, the church created 2 services every Sunday. The first service would begin by 8 and go sometimes to 9 or past 9, and then the second service would come. And this is the third building, and this third building, it took some time for the third building to be constructed. And the Reverend Dr. Paul Fanka, who was the pastor at the time of the decision, when they took a decision to construct a bigger church, they did not want to break down this second one, because looking at the structure, it was a historic kind of a structure, and they didn't want to break it. So they decided, where you have the church now was a school field, they decided to build the church on the field. And somehow it didn't go smoothly, because the leadership of the church forgot that it was their place to contact the education board and ask for permission to build the church on the field. Then unfortunately for the church, the pastor was going for further studies. He left, and that's the kind of time that we started working as a part-time. So they brought us in as part-time, and together with the church, when we understood the reason, the program, the difficulties, we decided to now formally request for permission to construct the church on the school field.
And one of the things was that market in Bamenda town was on a Sunday. So on a Sunday, you will not have even up to 50 people in the church. So what Nkwen church did was that they sent our pastor to the deal of Bamenda Council, Bamenda station there. So when he went, they asked him to go and call all other pastors from other churches like the Presbyterian and the Catholic. So they went and informed them. 3 of them went up there and tell the deal that they are pleading with the government that they should remove the market on Sunday and put it on a Saturday. That's what Nkwen church did. And when the market was removed from Sunday to Saturday, on Sunday you can have people in the church like 100 or 150.
And so that was accepted, and that's how we started the third building, which we went on until by 2003. And when that happened, the church started gaining ground and touching lives, and some people were coming to church. And by 1947, they conducted the first baptism.
They used to baptize at what they used to call Libakan water. This stream passing down here at below Total, that's where they used to baptize. They call it Libakan water. That's the way baptisms were formerly being done. And then, with time, as the town was developing and the challenge of a stream being dirty and the rest, they built that one there. And with modern times, when we also learned that with land being a challenge and all of that, and with these other inconveniences, we put the baptismal pool inside the building, and it can contain people, and still exercise will be done. And when you look at that building in particular, you see carvings there and the rest, and then the gong house. Of course, when they came, the missionaries came, they wanted to reach out to the people. In theology, we talk about contextualization. Even though they came from a background where there were bells, they came to a people whose medium of communication was the gong and the rest, and the drums. And so they wanted to be culturally really relevant, and that's why they built that gong house, where they used it as a bell. Since that was traditional way of calling people and communication, they used that to send messages to call people to come to worship.
Formerly, you find in that head there, I don't know, I think the gong is still there. That is how the church used to communicate from the early days. There were people trained, and they knew the styles of playing the gong to alert people, to inform people. The style of playing the gong, inviting people to come for morning prayers or evening prayers or whatever, was different. The style of playing for church services was different. If somebody died, if there was something that just happened, let's say like death information, there was a way of playing the drum call. And sometimes the information would be disseminated through the deacons of the church, because every deacons of the church had a number of people in various quarters responsible to be able to move around and inform those people and alert those people of certain happenings. And so the information will go through the deacons, and sometimes during the Christian meetings, sometimes during the morning prayers, and that's how information was being disseminated.
the gong house is still there today, even though we have come of age and people know the time and they hardly play it. But once in a while, we play it just to remind the people that's how where we were and how we have grown to where we are today. And we have preserved it. We don't want to to destroy it. Let it remain there to show that those are the beginnings from where we came.
The change of the name, I cannot say for sure, but it came as a political kind of desire, because to say Bafreng was a small quarter in Nkwen, and so when the Nkwen palace authorized and increased land, it just became normal that the church there should bear at least the name of Nkwen. That's how they came up with the Nkwen Baptist Church.
Yeah, in 2016, we just had a time to do a 70th anniversary celebration, and want to thank God for how far He's brought us, and then to complete especially this building and dedicate, because this building was started in 1990. It went through a lot of challenges that dragged on and on and on, and for over 20 years it was not really going. So at some point with the leadership of the church, we thought that let's set ourselves a target to finish the building, and we said, okay, we would love to dedicate the church building when we are at 70. So we said now that one as a 70th anniversary project was to realize that this building is completed and dedicated in that 2016. And when we completed and dedicated, we said, okay, now should we fold our arms and sit and say we have arrived? No. We still think that the church is growing on, and we think that at least when the church is 100 years, we should be able to celebrate. And what are some of the things at 100 years? What are some of those things that should be in place? We said, yes, the church is doing fine, but there's still so much to be done. So we're thinking about, like we are doing fine, we're carrying out a lot of evangelism. We partner, but for the crisis that come, we used to keep a missionary. The church was sponsoring a missionary in a Meta area. We had a missionary in Pinyin. We had a missionary in Bafut. We had a missionary paid by the church in Bamboi. We had we partnered with the convention to keep a foreign missionary. In fact, we pay 100,000 every month, even to now, into the CBC for foreign missions. And all of that for now comes from the money we generate from offerings and tithes and other givings in the church. But we were thinking that, yes, the ministries of the church keep expanding, the needs have to keep growing, and if we must go out and expand to be able to keep these ministries continuing and even expand, we should think about some income generating projects that one can also bring in income, and also areas to build the capacities of people. Like the last time I took statistics of the widows in church. We have over 100 widows in Nkwen Baptist Church. For orphans, even in the church, for outside, the number is huge. Then now with all of these internally displaced people there, how can the church reach out to? There's a saying that give somebody fish, you have fed him for one day, but teach a man how to fish and you have fed him for life. So we are thinking that we can come up with a project which one should have an empowerment center there, where we can have a craft like these widows. We can bring them on board, train them, those of them who are not able to do anything, train them some basic skills that they can be able to help themselves, and the children can come and learn things there and help themselves. They are also like these internally displaced people. They come there. We have been trying to contribute things to meet their needs, but how much can you do? But if we gather them and we send them to that place and we equip them, build their capacities, and they are able to. So we envisage that we have a building in which we have centers for equipping people in different things. We should also have a shop, that the things that they are made, a handicraft shop where the things they make, they can display there for sale. We should also have things like rest houses there where people can come and rest there. That will generate income for these things. Then we also have halls there where people can come and have their marriages and other ceremonies in a place that will generate income. That will be able to add to the offerings that people give, to able to carry out more ministries of the church. Ministries that the church may not be able to do now as she loves to do. But if we come with on, so we have that center, like you inside the church, you see that dream building, which we want to build behind this church down there. We need to demolish the current French church and build right down to the old baptismal pole, put up such a structure there that should house all of those things. We're also thinking about housing for our pastors. For now, even the house where the senior pastor is living was built maybe in the 50s. It's very old, it's very weak, and when rain falls, there's a fear that it can even, with wind, it can bring it down. And it's not very strong, it's old and all of this. And the other pastors are living off campus, we are renting. We're also thinking about coming up with another structure which should be like a ministerial complex that all the pastors should be there and all of that. We think that if we even build such a thing behind this old church, this new church building, just by the handball, behind the handball court around that side, put story building there that one can bring all the pastors on board, even move the senior pastor there too, and then it should have about 4 or 5 floors. If you move all the pastors there, and then you demolish the present senior pastor's residence and put up also a story building. If you put that up, then some of the pastors can move up there, and the other apartments there can serve also as rest house to generate income for the church, so that the ministries of the church, which are always growing, will keep growing. Well, there are always many challenges in church. You're talking about in terms of challenges. There are always many challenges in church, and we come and we try our own, make our own contribution. My philosophy is that the church is like a building. Any minister comes and tries to work and bring the art to a certain level, another one comes just to add to the walls. And there have been challenges, like the challenge we talk about, ministerial conflict. I said we are struggling to work together in unity as a team. You see, us as pastors, we are working in a team. That did not used to happen in the past.
And what I'm happy in Nkwen Church is that it has grown from strength to strength because of our pastors that have come there and served us. When we used to have one pastor, the work was too much when Christians were growing. Then we started with 2 pastors. It was not easy for Nkwen Church. The 2 pastors, when they came, as I experienced it, we were so discouraged that if we knew that this is how the team would be, we would not bring 2 pastors. So there was fighting amongst them. But now I am happy that the pastors we have now are very good, because they are cooperating to spread the word of God. Because in those days it was not easy. It was not easy for 2 pastors to serve in one church.
We are all our pastors. We are working as one person. We speak one language, and at least that particular challenge, we can say it's for now it's not a problem, and we keep working at it, working our relationships. We are not only working on relationship between interpastoral relationship, we're also trying to work on relationship among the Christians. The challenges are there. The church always, as you have people, you have different people with different ideas, and there are always conflict, but we keep working to build them up and to help people to see that differences are not a problem.
The church, how the church has impacted the community. The church, first and famous, has opened schools. When the churches are open, when this church was open, the church opened the school. And when the church opened the school, the church did not limit admission in the school. As a matter of fact, in some of the fields, there were opportunities where some of the churches were started that they opened schools. They would call some of them adult school, where they brought in even elders, grown-ups, those who were not literate, and they brought and taught them so that they would be able, and the main focus was to help them read God's word. And one of the ways that the church has impacted the society is by way of opening health centers, hospitals and health centers, in order to help to help reduce the amount of illnesses and help to cure some of them.
Yes, the church has really been a positive influence to the community. One, if you talk about physical and material needs, like the church has reached out to orphans, the church has been doing prison ministry, hospital visitation. Those were activities that were there before I came, and they have continued all of this time. Like me, you are talking about now with the current crisis, with the internally displaced people, the church has been meeting the needs of the internally displaced people. We have a committee that we put up, and we are compiling. I think we now have over 200 people registered under the church as internally displaced, excluding their families. 200 people, at least families, groups. Sometimes you have family of 9, 10, or that are there. We have all of that. The church has continued to do that. And then even we have a borehole which we bore, and then we provided water for this community, especially at a time when there was major water crisis in town, and we allowed people carry.
The experience in Nkwen was that even though they were small, they were so active that we did not mind about the small church, and we went out to form other churches around here, the Nkwen church. The first one was Ntanka, Mosang, Matri, Mante, Station, Marwan. Even though the Christians were few, we were able to form all these churches.
Church has been always reaching out. The church has existed for long. It has been reaching out. All of these areas I'm talking about, they have been going on. The reaching out, evangelism, one, and church planting, supporting missions. Nkwen Church always supported missionaries, sent missionaries out. I came and inherited that, and we have continued. In terms of social ministry, we have always met the needs of people from outside, but we also try to meet the needs of our members, like the widows, the orphans in the place. The church had always taken measures to see to it that they, in a little way, meet their needs, and other people, other challenges, the church has always met. And so with the times, as the things are evolving, the challenges increase, and we also look at measures to approach them. So it's not like it's something new that I brought in is what I met on, and we continued on it.
In a few years to come, all working well and with whatever desires that people have, and with the situation of life in our country, and particularly in our region, I foresee the Nkwen Baptist Church, and I pray that someday it should happen. I foresee Nkwen Baptist Church running a threefold program, where in this one compound they're having a church, they already have a church, they're having a school, they already have a school, they're having a college, I think they already have a college. And I foresee these things being fenced and made safe for young people to go there and get education. Why not? I foresee people, even if we are going to have some campuses of university, I foresee one of them coming here.
The Nkwen Church, even before the time I came in, had a vision statement which my immediate predecessor put in place, and which is on everybody Nkwen Church exists to worship the triune God, to fulfill the Great Commandment and the Great Commission, and to equip her members, or to edify her members through worship, discipleship, evangelism, and social ministry. That has been the vision that was in the place, and when I came in, I queued on, because I believe that the church has one mission, and the only difference we do is how to different approaches to see that that vision is achieved. So that's the vision I inherited, that's the vision I have continued, and I pray that the vision should continue with, because the vision of a church should be holistic.